Hello, welcome everybody to the BA Zone's live pre-show. We are here. What is this? This is New Year's Eve day, the day after New Year's. And if you're all ready and up for it, I'm really not, but we're going to do this show tonight anyway. Yay! So anyway, I hope everybody had a fabulous end to 2018, and we're looking forward to 365 days to be successful in 2019. So happy New Year, everyone. I'm still sort of celebrating. So we're going to have a fun time tonight. So anybody out there, if you have any friends or family who might be interested in seeing this debacle, please tune in for tonight's show. And tonight we're going to be talking about batch processing versus batch processes. Hang on a second, kids. Batch process versus transaction processing, basically, or real time versus batch processing. That's our topic for tonight. So it should be interesting, given that the topic is a little dry and I'm not. So, and Kathleen will join in. We're still having fun. I've been at a party all day today, and I plan on joining that party once this show is over. So, but we're going to have a great time tonight. And I hope we have a fabulous year this year. You know, it's been kind of sort of a kind of 2018, or maybe it's been a great 2018 for everyone, but I'm looking forward to 2019, and we've got a lot of exciting things coming up for the BA Zone, a lot of exciting topics. We're going to get back to we've been doing a lot of sort of soft sort of skills, and we're going to get into the nuts and bolts this year of business analysis. So we hope that you'll join us. And again, feel free to comment during tonight's show. We're going to get going here in about 6 minutes, if I read the clock correctly. And but feel free to join in and comment, and that's what makes everything fun. And I know a lot of folks watch on replay. So if you have any comments, you can drop them into bazone.com. And sit back, relax, get your favorite beverage. Like this, find our show helpful. Please like us. Please like us, follow us, and share us with your friends or that person you want to get off the couch. And we'll be getting going here in 5 minutes. So what did everybody do for New Year's? Anybody out there want to share? Or you don't want to share? That's water that I'm drinking. Sort of like a late night show tonight. So. Kathleen's in the background doing a little she's sort of just doing a little chagrin type of thing. But no, we've really had a great year. We've covered a lot of topics, and we hope to continue to do so. And we do it based on what you guys are interested in hearing about. So drop us a line. Let us know what you want to hear about. And this year we're going to be introducing some more classes, and we'll be getting to that in a month or two, just to let you know. And it's an exciting time for business analysis, considering everything that's going on in e-commerce and healthcare and finance and the stock market and different industries. And we're going to be covering a lot of that and a lot of the skills that are necessary. And, Kathleen will jump in as usual. And she's sort of, I'm the she said, she's the other she said. And we bounce back and forth. So we hope you'll join us, and should be a great year. So let's see, we've got 4 minutes before we go live. So if anybody's out there nursing a hangover, I'll try to talk quietly. I know how it can be the day after New Year's. And did you see all those people standing in Times Square? If you're from somewhere else, we've seen New Year's all over the globe, and it's fascinating. But I mean, this year in New York City, it just poured cats and dogs, and those folks, got to give them a lot of credit. It's something that I've never done, and I'm pretty close to the city, but they were out there, they're having a great time, and we're having a fabulous start to 2019. So we'll hope you'll join us, and we'll have a great time. And Kathleen, hopefully all the nuts and bolts are working. Kathleen, do you need me to test anything before we go live, or are we okay? My glass makes noise, and
Yes, we're all good, except that, your ice cubes are a tad
My ice cubes. My ice cubes. I'm so sorry. So sorry. That's a little bit of bourbon for you Southerners. Having a little bit of bourbon this evening. Oh, look at that. Oh, look, it's New Year's. Oh, the fun confetti. I feel like it's a party already. Very excited. Oh, Kathleen, did you do anything this New Year's? Did you? Oh, that's right. You hung out with family and friends, and did you have a good time?
No,
Don't tell
actually,
the truth. Just
I
say it was
no,
great.
I'm going to tell the truth. I blew them off, and I had a great time.
You blew them off. Oh my gosh. Who are
Yeah,
you
well, I'll
watching?
be in
Doctor
trouble for the
Who?
next 6 months, but too bad.
Oh, hopefully they don't watch this. That's always the trouble with going live. You never know who's really watching. But what were you doing? Watching Doctor Who, or what was going on with that?
Actually, no. Some of my online friends were having an online party, so I hung out with them all night and I actually won a $25 Amazon gift card for it.
Fabulous. Really? What are you going to buy with that?
Oh, I already did. I bought some dog treats.
Some dog trees. We're always thinking of the dogs. Bring up the dogs. Do you have the dogs there?
I do have the doggies.
Poor Tinker. I've been out. Oh, Tinker's on the right, depending on how you're looking at it. Murphy's on the left there. Murphy's so cute, the little man in black. And Tinker he's been pretty good, actually. We were out, most of the day. And as long as you give him his food, and I found that, Tinker had been getting sick. He's got all kinds of intestinal type issues. But actually, I was making the poor thing sick by giving him, animal crackers, which I know is sort of counterintuitive, animal crackers to a dog. But anyway, I digress. But those animal crackers were sort of bothering his little. And since we haven't been giving him those, he's been terrific. He's had no problems, and we've been sort of at the next. I want you to all know I've only been next door at the neighbors, and so they strung up a line from their house to our house, so I have no problem finding my way back. And we've had a great time today. And last night was kind of quiet for us. We really didn't do too much. We just were sort of hanging out with family, and today we're doing hanging out with friends, and tomorrow we're all going to be working. Sort of, that's a wink wink for those folks who are not really watching and just listening. But yeah, so we hope to have a great year this year, and I hope everybody has a happy and healthy New Year's. And if anybody's joining, oh, look at that, Kathleen, it's 8:00. It's party time. So anyway, so welcome everybody. I think everybody's on board. Kathleen will let me know if she has a few more people, but hopefully Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube is up and running. Welcome everybody. Welcome to 2019. It's going to be a great year. You have 365 days to succeed. So just to let you know, I'm Marian Morrison, and Kathleen Sinnott is behind the scenes handling all the tech and audio. And together we are the BA Zone, and we are welcoming this new year, this 2019. It's going to be a fabulous year. And tonight we're going to be talking about real-time versus batch processing. That's our topic tonight. So if you know someone who might be interested in this topic, please reach out to them and share us with your friends, your coworkers, or that certain someone you want to get off your couch, get them a job. And during tonight's show, please feel free to comment on the topic, ask us any questions, or give us some, of your tips during the evening. But before we do that, let's ring in this new year. Raise your glass to Kathleen's intro. So Kathleen, take it away. Kathleen has fallen off her chair. Yay, love that intro. So before I fall off my chair, let's get into tonight's topic, real-time versus batch processing. Yay, it's an interesting topic. It's sort of not, but as a BA, you need at least a basic understanding of data concepts, structures, mapping and analysis in order to make sure you are asking the right questions. You're identifying business results that are attainable, or to initiate process changes, to understand the impact of adding or removing data, to ensure that you have data integrity and security, and to create conceptual and logical data models. You also need to be able to migrate applications and databases that are obtained through business acquisitions, or empower users with the right information at the right time. And from a broader perspective, data is sort of aggregated, analyzed, and manipulated and used for the advancement across a wide spectrum of the organization and industries, such as consumer-focused products, e-commerce, healthcare, We do a lot of healthcare initiatives, Kathleen and I, science and engineering, law enforcement, education, entertainment, whatever industry that you are in. So tonight we're going to be talking about two types of handling and processing or ingesting data, and that is batch process versus real-time processing. Those are the two basic methods that are out there. Batch processing, real-time or near real-time processing, and many systems that or companies that you go into probably employ both of those methods, right? So we're going to explore both of them. So let's talk about batch processing first. Happy New Year. That's just a little sip to wet my whistle. Okay, so batch processing sort of takes data sets, file feeds, operational data, social media, service data, even historical data, and breaks them down into batch jobs that are scheduled for automatic processing and input into a database. These jobs often include operations that perform validations, modification of incoming data, formatting of data, handling bad data, processing or analyzing historical data for reporting. And that's just to name a few. So some examples of where you would see batch processing in your particular job. Typically, batch processing is used with large amounts of data. Some examples of that might be where you're dealing with payroll or billing activities that might occur on a monthly cyclical basis, or if you're doing some kind of deep analytics or business intelligence where you need to make decisions. It's typically done, offline, off hours. Whereas real-time or near-time processing, which is also called transactional or online or streaming type of processing, this is data that's processed immediately or near immediately in real time, and it tends to be more interactive. So if we're talking from like a clinical aspect, there's certain information that you need immediately. If you were doing robotics or a clinical procedure, you would need up to the minute data. So that would be more real-time process versus looking back at historical data, batch processing, where you're getting a lot of data in and doing some type of analytic reporting that might not need to be done at the moment. You can look back historically over a period of time. So in general, from either processing method, you're generally collecting this information and then you're storing it in structured tables or entities, columns, or attributes and rows or records within a database. And they're sort of updated depending on multiple variables or operations. Some basic operations that can be performed on the data include, creating, updating, deleting, read only. Sometimes that's called reference, or if you're querying type of data. So examples of where you have that real-time processing. And the goal of real-time processing is to be able to analyze incoming data and provide some type of real-time feedback or processing to a user, right at the present time, right at the moment. So, for example, you would use a lot of real-time processing if you're looking from in a clinical perspective or in a hospital situation. Maybe you have online for non-clinical people. Maybe you have online scripts or rules that sort of guide administrative employees in different scenarios. If you were talking about clinicians, you might be talking about, maybe robotic procedures that are being done, where that information coming in needs to be immediately. That real-time processing is so important to get all of that data coming in so that you can make valuable decisions. In other industries, that might be banking. You go to your ATM and you need to get your bank balance, or there's sort of that transactional data that has to be processed instantly, so that the customer doesn't even notice that there might be any type of delay. You'd see this in the stock exchange if you were buying or selling stocks, or if you're in a different country and you're exchanging currencies. It might be at the retail, the point of sale, where you're doing inventory updates or dynamic pricing. It might be in manufacturing, where you have assembly lines that are dependent on detection of errors or in the process that might occur. Or maybe it's social media, from promotion of current trends to identifying criminal activity that could occur online. And there's stuff in the entertainment industry. It might be in the utility industry, where they're trying to manage usage of electrical grids, et cetera. You can find examples of real-time processing in any industry. So anything that you might be interested in working in, batch processing and real-time processing are going to come up for you as potential issues when you're designing or working through particular projects. So just to take a quick little, and that's sort of like an overview. And when you combine these two processes, which a lot of companies do, what you're going to get is this sort of rich and robust data pool that's going to provide real-time operational intelligence, OI, that allows companies to identify sort of past behaviors and provide suggestions on future actions, sort of to improve sales, service, customer satisfaction, or improvements in science and healthcare, in any industry that's particularly out there. And a lot of companies combine the two to take that sort of batch historical data that's coming in, and it could come in the form of file feeds and inputs, and combining that with real-time data that's coming in to look to see if there's any type of patterns that exist for that particular use, and then suggesting things that might improve sales or might improve their healthcare or whatever that might be. So I'm just gonna take a little break. If anybody has any suggestions or questions out there, hi Jason, I see that you're out there watching, and for all you folks on Periscope, thanks for stopping by. And again, we're just going to walk through some of the other pros and cons. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons if nobody has any questions right now. So let's talk about batch processing and some of the pros that are around that. Batch processing is really good when you have really large volumes of data coming in. This could be file feeds that are coming in on a daily basis. In clinical ops, this happens a lot. You get a lot of claims data coming through, or initial diagnosis or condition information coming through. And batch processing is really good with large volumes of data. And one of the reasons being is that you have sort of the control over when that information is processed and how it's processed. So you can standardize the process that's coming through. You can set it up so that it only runs at a certain time, so that it's not interfering with, operational daily operations. You can have it off hours and running in the background. There's a lot of reduced setup and processing costs associated with doing batch processing as opposed to real-time streaming. We can also process that information independently, as I said. So you can do it at less busy times or the desired times that you want to. It really provides a great audit trail as well, because every record that comes in is date stamped and time, so that you have that terrific audit trail. And those are some of the benefits of the batch processing. Some of the cons that occur with that, obviously, if you're taking data and you're only processing at a certain time during the day, there's obviously a delay in gathering all of that information and storing it and doing bulk processing. So that information is not necessarily up to date as you would have with sort of live streaming. And because of that, sometimes you can get some operational increase, especially if that data coming in tends to be kind of on the bad side. It's not terrific data coming in. A lot of companies will set up file feeds that are coming in from different entities or different customers, and then that customer entity may change that data, and it can cause sort of errors, a lot of errors and things. So operational costs can increase depending on that. Errors that come in have to be corrected after the batch has been processed. So that adds additional time to that. And so some of those are, minor errors. Data types can prevent the batch job from running. So some things can actually stop the batch job from running, and human intervention has to then, move that job through and get that process. Real-time processing, some of the advantages of that is obviously your data is going to be completely up to date. Not completely, very close to completely up to date. And error correction can be immediate. Right at that time, you can send something off and have that fixed. Data is processed on demand. So that it means that it's up to date. It allows someone or something to identify patterns or opportunities or even threats that might occur to the system in the case of fraud and things like that. So there's no time delay, and that having access to that data as it happens is really an extremely powerful tool, especially when you combine it with the batch data. So, for example, if we're talking about online sales, I know for a fact that if I'm on Amazon and I'm on the Kindle and I am purchasing a particular novel or book, it will suggest to me based on my previous batch buying patterns or whatever. It's going to suggest to me recommendations of new books to buy. So it's an extremely powerful tool to take the two pieces, look at the historical data, look at the on-time real data, and then suggest something to me. So that's pretty powerful when it comes to sales, for an organization. Real-time processing can get very complex. Some of the downsides of that that can tend to get expensive. Also, a disadvantage of real time is that you have to have a lot more security and control around the software, the network processes, and who can access data, so that you don't have unauthorized access or the potential to destroy data. So there's all of that around that. And some of that system hardware and software can be expensive. Security in online or real-time processing is the biggest concern. You need to be able to set up user profiles specific to the person logging on, as well as setting up permissions on files, whether it's read-only access versus read-write access, or not allowing access at all to a certain file to someone. Some examples of where you would see real-time processing or where that would be applicable is robotics in the clinical industry. If you're in the middle of an operating on a patient and, you're getting feedback and data through robotics, you want to make sure that that is real time, so that you're not killing someone, or the outcome of the operation might not be so good. So real time processing is really important there. You'll also see it in the airline industry, air flight simulators, different types of again, in the stock exchange or the banking industry, or on, buying or purchasing online. That's really where it becomes important, really, for security wise, for real time or near time processing. Again, can be a little more expensive. You have to have a lot more security. That is critical. But again, combination of the two is what a lot of companies go with. They'll have a lot of file feeds coming in where they do the batch processing. And then there is also that online or live streaming component through a different application. And that's particularly the difference between the online and the batch. I don't know, Kathleen, if you have anything to add to that,
No,
if
I
you're
think
there.
you've got it very well presented.
Very well presented. It must be the libations from last night.
That's it. It's firing up all the neurons.
It's filing up all those neurons, and we're only 18 minutes in. And tonight, we're just sort of giving you just a little bit of a touch of this. I mean, you are going to need to know from a business analyst perspective whether you're using batch processing or the online. It definitely will affect your design for a particular application. You need to know whether this needs to be immediate, if a response needs to be immediate, or if it can go and sit for a day or two, if it's going to go off to a data warehouse, for example. Is it going to go to a data mart where you can access the information a little quicker? Is it going to have to be immediate? These are some of the things you need to know when you're going out, so you know which the correct questions to ask users, and however you're going to design your particular application. So let me just double check with Kathleen. I don't think we have anything going out there. I don't blame anyone. I know you'll catch us on the backup. So Kathleen, are you hungover in any way? Are you good?
No, no, actually, I balanced the water with the alcohol very nicely, so it all worked out well. Something
That's
just
it.
popped into my head, and I'm going to just throw it out here. One of the other things, in addition, I mean, obviously we need to know, are they doing things by batch process? Are they doing it real time? Are they doing combination? If so, when and where? But sometimes you might have to push them a little bit because it might be easier for them to just keep reusing a batch process. But there are times when the customer, the user, needs the response to be real time. They need the data to be real time. So you may have to advocate there a little bit to help them make the right decision. Let's put it that way. So case in point, which just happened to me, which is why this just popped into my head. I was trying to get in to make some changes for the show to set some things up. And for whatever reason, the system wasn't processing it well. So I was like, to heck with it, I'll just change the password really fast. So I was like, okay, I went in to change the password. And it said, okay, we sent you an email. And I waited. And I waited. And I waited. And then I waited some more. And at this point, my stress was here because we were minutes from going live and I couldn't get in to make the change I needed to do because somebody made the decision that this should be a batch process and it can afford to wait a half hour or however long. It felt like days, but it was probably a half hour. So that's an example of where we need to look at the process, not just from the technical, practical side of things, but also from the what is happening to the user in that moment and what might they be needing and what might their stress level be. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's just something else to keep in mind as you're helping your company make these kinds of decisions. And rant.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's her rant, but I absolutely agree. And this does occur a lot with legacy systems and moving legacy systems over to more online. And there's a lot of legacy systems out there. But, when you need that data to make a decision, you need that data. And like I said, we've dealt with the clinical side where you definitely need that data because it can be a life or death type of situation. But, to whoever the user is, that could happen in the stock market. It could be a life or death situation to that particular person, in a psychological type of way. So yeah, in addition, we do as BAs definitely have to advocate for that if it makes sense. And if we're talking about, reporting, sometimes that data is not needed real time. So, and again, we can say, this can be moved to more of a batch processes so that, it might be near time versus real time or even delayed by 24 hours. And it's not going to make that much of a difference. So again, it depends on the industry you're in. It depends on the particular business process you were talking about. But again, you definitely want to understand the two concepts so you can make the appropriate decision. So tonight. I think we're still good, Kathleen. Okay, so just as a quick break, just so that why don't we put up that screen, Kathleen, where we say where we can be found all over. Again, we have a lot of information out there and a lot of shows out there, and you can follow us on our website on the bazone.com. You can drop us comments there. You can definitely give us suggestions for future shows. Our best shows come from your suggestions. And as I said, this year, we're going to be focusing more on the basics, the nuts and bolts, as we've been dealing with sort of more of these soft skill issues. You can find us on Twitter at the BA Zone, on Instagram, Instagram.com, the BA Zone, Periscope, Periscope.tv, the BA Zone, Facebook, Facebook.com, the BA Zone, or YouTube, tinyurl.com, the BA Zone YouTube, and or you can just search for us on the YouTube as well. Okay, so let's just wrap this up. I got a party to go to, so I'm sure everybody's got something to do, at least just to rest before tomorrow's big day, the startup of 2019. But just to wrap it up, when it comes to data processing, there are a lot of ways, more ways than there ever were before to process data. So you just have to look at the tools and choose what makes sense for you for processing data in the first place. If you're going to be processing data that's not time sensitive, that's more historical or archival in general, then batch processing is the way to go. If you can, if it's not time sensitive, batch processing is the way to do. If things are crucial, you need answers right at that point in time, then as a BA, you need to push for real time or near time processing, live streaming. There's multiple jargon out there for it. When making a decision depends on, the current business. If you're talking about OI, operational intelligence, kind of went right out of my head for a second. Then you want to have that hands-on data. You want that rich data that's historical as well as the current input. So that works really terrific to have the two together. A lot of times, Kathleen and I are dealing with data where we're taking a lot of intake files that are coming in. A lot of data is being processed and then put out there. There's a lot of data error handling. If you're in an industry that's looking at fraud or fraud detection, you need that combination of here's the historical data of what's been going on, and here is currently what's happening. And that is fraud detection is a huge area to get into if you're interested in that as a business analyst. And you're looking for patterns or anomalies all the time that might signal some fraud so that you can stop those activities before they happen. So there's a lot of different areas that you can get into. There's, complex event processing where you're getting multiple sources. You're looking to detect patterns. Kathleen and I sort of love data, and we love to look through it for patterns. And as a BA, you can use that anytime. You could use that when you're looking at, we've used it recently, for example, if you have a drop-down field and there is an other and give another reason. If you look at those reasons, you can probably shrink that down and add that to a drop-down list. That's even looking at data. We love data, that data-rich information. So it's great to be able to have that batch information as well as that real-time processing, because then you can do a tremendous amount with that data. But again, a lot of companies just have one or the other still. But as advocates, we want to sort of move them from a business intelligence standpoint to that real-time analysis of operational data that has so much great value to move a company forward. So, I mean, that's just from a high level view of those two types of processes. So, I mean, it's 8:27, and let me just check back and make sure. Kathleen, do you have anything to add to that before we move on?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, great. And we are so close to being on time. It's like 8:27. And again, if you watch this later on, which we know a lot of people do watch it on the reboot because today sort of people might be nursing a hangover or relaxing before they go back to work. But again, please feel free to drop us a line. Let us know if you're struggling with anything or if you have any problems because we really do wish that 2019 is a happy and a healthy and a productive year for everyone. We at the BA Zone wish you all the best, and please tune in next Tuesday. We're here for you. We're here for the BA community. And we really enjoy doing this. And we thank you for 2018. We thanks for everyone's participation, all your suggestions, all your comments. We really do love it. So thank you very much for that. And again, you have 365 days to be successful. So take advantage of every single one of them, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining the BA Zone Live, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.